It's Katrina Hertz. I am back here with week 2 of SEL distant learning resources for K to 2. And also, some of these resources can be used for pre K to 2. So, for the rest of the time that we are doing distant learning, we'll basically take one of the 5 competencies of social emotional learning, and we're going to actually create the resources in each PowerPoint or for each week will be aligned to one of the competencies. So this week is self-awareness. And so self-awareness is the ability to accurately recognize one's own emotions, thoughts, and values and how they influence behavior. The ability to accurately assess one's strengths and limitations with a well-rounded sense of confidence, optimism, and a growth mindset. So, if you want to learn more about this competency, I attached a link in the notes and feel free to read more about it. But everything in this week's resources will be aligned to self awareness. So, through these resources, if you use this entire deck, or even if you use pieces of it, you will reach some of these objectives with scholars. And so, I created these resources so scholars will be able to feel a sense of safety and connection with you. And if you're doing this live with or like in real time with other scholars, maybe in small group or for morning meeting, then they'll also feel a connection to other people in their group or in their class. Students will be able to also name how they are feeling as an impact of COVID-19. So, not like them necessarily being sick, but just the changes that they are experiencing because of the precautions that we are taking as a city, as a nation, because of COVID. And also, students will be able to identify one strategy they can use when feeling a big emotion like fear, anger, or anxiety. So this follows the regular agenda that we used last week. So you can read through this agenda here. And then this week, if you are teaching this for a morning meeting or a small group, I wanted you to also have the opportunity to know, especially for morning meeting, that this week I started adding in major content. So right here it talks about, let me underline this part so you can see. This bullet here, this is added. So there will be some content specifically around the social emotional competency for the week. But this week it is around COVID-19 and me. So the me part is them being able to express how are they feeling? What do they feel like are some thoughts that are going in their head? What are some of the emotions that they have? So this one is aligned to self-awareness, but also just given the opportunity to have a discussion around COVID-19. So just to go over greetings, greetings is the opportunity to start off your space with scholars feeling connected to you. If this is something that scholars are going to view by themselves or potentially not in real time, then you can also still do a greeting of your choice. It just makes them feel connected and they see a familiar face, which is their teacher. So the greetings this week, here are the resources for you. So I love to tell jokes. I'm not that good at them, so I go look some up. And the first one, which is located right here, are just some jokes that you could tell to your K to 2 or pre-K to 2 scholars. And so one of my favorite ones, which nobody has been able to get out of my friend group, is what are twins' favorite fruit? I want you to think about it. What are twins' favorite fruit? A pear. Ba-dum. Ah! Okay, so again, I told you I like jokes. So the first one is just the opportunity to go through and just like share a joke, make your scholars laugh, whatever's aligned to your personality. Definitely use it. So the next two, since we're talking about emotions, I thought it could be extremely helpful to do like an I Spy, but with like Lego emotions or emoji version. So on here, I have given like some details like how you go through this in the chat. And so as you dig further into this, you will see that there's an opportunity to stop and talk to scholars about, like, what do you feel like this emotion is about? Like, can you tell me, what is this Lego potentially feeling? We know Legos don't have feelings, but you're also with pre-K to 2, so using that imagination is also essential for them to be able to potentially grab perceptions from just like looking at pictures. Like, it's like making an inference just based off of the image of the Lego. So then you can let them discuss and then go through and say, okay, well, I've heard all of these. We've described that the Lego is shocked or surprised. And so let's go with if the Lego is surprised. If they say shocked, change that to shocked. Then say, I'm going to give you some time to go through here and see how many of these faces of the Lego being shocked you can find. When you have your answer, don't tell me. Maybe whisper it in your hand or whisper it to your favorite toy, and then give them time and then go through that. It really is just an example for you to be able to then transition into your emotion check-in. It might be the first time that you're doing this, and so it could be really, really good just to stop with scholars and say you were able to identify how that Lego was feeling. Now let's kind of think about, how are you feeling coming into this space? And so the process for what it can look like. And here are examples that we talked about last week, and I'm just going to go in detail through another one this week. You can literally just show this emoji page and say, I want to give you time to kind of share how are you feeling coming into our space today, or while you're watching this video. And so here, because if it's virtual and your scholars potentially can't read the language on the chart, then I encourage you to add numbers. This one is already done if you want to use this one, because then scholars can either say which number they are feeling and be able to identify why and what actions that then causes them to do. So for example, like, well, today I'm angry because I couldn't get screen time to watch my favorite show, and I had to do work. And so they can also then potentially express, and because of that, I I stomped around the house, or I cried, or I screamed, and this is all important for them to be able to register, for you to also model for them. And then if you have time, especially if you want to later check in with scholars, or in that space when a scholar is explaining which emotion they're feeling and why and the impact of that, you could also do like a scale of 1 to 3 to say, like, how angry are you? Are you 1, I'm a little angry? Are you 2, I'm angry? Or are you 3, I'm really angry? Because that can also help you to gauge like how you need to check in with scholars, or maybe how you want to connect with their parents if that's something that you so choose to do, or maybe even connecting with some of your other supports through the network or at your campus. So then we go to the mindfulness activity. I think this is really essential if scholars are feeling really big emotions. You're also going to potentially go into a conversation around COVID-19. And so this could be essential in talking about ways in which we can be present and to like regulate some of those big emotions. Like, I heard you say that you were extremely angry, or you were sad, or you were really excited, but you were so excited that that was causing you not to be able to focus on your work, or to drop stuff, or to be distracting to other people in the house. And so those big emotions that can then cause anxiety or depression in our scholars, this is an opportunity to then go through some them to then center themselves and regulate. So Mind Yeti, there is a login that you can create, but all the links here that I have embedded in the notes, and also I'm pretty sure they're hyperlinked. But when you click on them, they will take you to YouTube, so you won't need a login. And so I've just placed some essential questions here that scholars can think through, or you can just ask 1 or 2 throughout the video. But this first one is just getting them to think about how amazing their brain is, and then starting to realize that when I am really angry, it is really hard for me to then learn because my brain is not focused. And so, how can I help it to focus? Then there's another activity that you can do, and this one is around. It's kind of like a mindfulness like meditation. So it just literally allows them to listen to the Mind Yeti voice, and it goes through them acknowledging certain feelings. So one is one that we might deem more on the negative side, or uncomfortable feeling, I would say. And then the other example they go through is a comfortable feeling. So they go through the scenario and ask them to think how they might feel. And so it's 5 minutes long, and I've just given a recommendation for where you can stop it in if you don't have 5 minutes to actually go through the whole video. So this is when you say you're pre-recording your video for potentially a read aloud or for an enrichment, or if you are a specials teacher, you could do all those other pieces first and then insert your content here and then go on to the next part of embedding SEL into distant learning. But the other thing, say you are doing this for a morning meeting and you're not going to do an enrichment content, you have the opportunity to do the COVID-19 and me video or reading discussion. This is when you can do that. And again, this can be done during morning meeting, other community space that maybe you all are holding with scholars, or even small group. And you, for small group, you can then take out, if you don't have time to do COVID-19, take it out and then do the content for your small group. Also, just talking to teachers throughout this week and preparing for this, and also counselors, feel free to use what you can use within your time. So if that is the first two, the greeting and emotion check-in and mindfulness, use that. And then if you're meeting with scholars throughout the entire week, use certain pieces throughout the week. So feel free to know that you are capable to align this to how it best fits your schedule and the reading of the room when you're on Zoom or whatever the virtual video spaces with kids or scholars. So this is just one of the options. So it's a video that explains what coronavirus is to scholars. It's less than 2 minutes, and it's done in a child's voice. The second one is, okay, it's playing.
What is coronavirus?
So there you go.
Coronavirus is an illness.
Second one is a flip book, and I have linked the flip book in the chat, or not in the chat, I'm sorry. I've linked the flip book inside of the notes, and so feel free to go through that. But this one you could do as a read aloud with scholars, and then for both of them, I have some questions that you can potentially ask after watching the video or after doing the reading. And then it also allows you another opportunity just to stop and give some suggestions for how to calm down if they're feeling anxious during this time or worried. And so I've listed details about that in the chat. Yeah. And so here are just some tips about talking with scholars about COVID-19. And I just think modeling, being honest about your emotions, but also balancing that with some reassurance for scholars is essential. Encouraging them with positive activities, and I'll give some examples of that next. And then allowing them to think of questions, and you might not feel comfortable with them asking them, but if they ask them and that's a question you don't feel comfortable answering, then always refer them to their parents or their guardians to ask, and just pay attention to things that they are saying, and just model what it looks like to be a good listener, so then they can do that at home, and then you also can just see where they are. So then if you need to follow up with them individually or with their parents or guardians, you can. There's also a resource in the notes that just gives more tips about talking to kids about COVID. And so we like to do movement challenges because we know the power of the alignment between your mind and your body. And so each week I'm just going to give another movement challenge that you can use. And last week had a lot of them, so pull from there. This week really just gives some insight into some oldies but goodies. Encourage them to play Simon Says or hide and seek. If they can't, and that can be done inside or outside. Also, encourage them to exercise, encourage them to take a walk, do a dance, yoga, stretch, or ride a bike. And then I like to make things personal with my scholars, and so I would have then said, like, yesterday, well, actually, whatever, it was on Monday. On Monday, I got an opportunity to get my movement in for the day by doing, like, as you can see behind me, a screen of an online workout class. And so moving makes me feel better. It makes me not feel as like stressed, and I can get some good rest. And so let me know what workout you do or what movement you do today. And that's just like a way that you can connect that with your kids and something that you're doing in your own life. We like to close with optimistic closure, so it's just a way to close up the learning and the space for the day, and also to give scholars the opportunity to reflect on what they learned and what they want to take from the space. We hope that they take everything, but we want to make sure that one thing is definitely being taken away from the space. And so here are a list of some, and then the one that I just grabbed, something I will remember. And so, something I will remember about this week, just with you all or preparing for these resources, is that we are some extremely creative and supportive people. And I've just realized that through speaking with teachers and them coming up with totally different ways to implement and use the resources that I've created for them, for you all to use with your scholars. And so I'll just remember all the people who took out the time to actually meet with me this week. And I appreciate you so very much. And have a great rest of the day, week, weekend, whenever you're watching this. And lastly, I'm going to start holding SEL Zoom space for Q&A. So for this time, it will be Monday from 10 to 10:30 a.m. If that doesn't work, you can always call me, text me, or email me. And the Zoom link is also in the notes of this PowerPoint. I hope that you have a great remainder of the day, and be positive and be blessed.